Over the past 2 decades, online dating has grown from a creepy niche activity for losers to the #1 way that people set up dates. More and more people engage in online dating, it's becoming more and more accepted to engage in online dating, and more couples meet via online dating. In fact, most couples these days meet via online dating. However, people's experiences with online dating are highly mixed. Men complain that women are passive and don't respond to their messages. Women complain about unsolicited dick pics and men not being serious, just looking for a hookup. In this video, I'm going to look at the objective facts of how successful online dating is. Moreover, I'll give you some tips on how to succeed at online dating using best practices from research. First, is online dating doomed to fail? If you've ever done online dating, it's easy to see the downsides. You get catfished, people lie on their profiles, people aren't serious. On the other hand, dating services will argue that their algorithms and matchmaking services make it much easier to find a targeted match. Even if you have to swipe a bit, the fact that you can swipe, you have so many matches, and that they are pre-selected for you makes things a lot more convenient than going to the library and meeting maybe one person that may not be interested or may not be single in the first place. Fortunately, we don't just have to theorize about this. We have a lot of data, and scientific research quite conclusively shows that online dating is neither inferior nor superior to conventional dating. It's simply different. While the odds of a match in online dating turning into a relationship may not be particularly high, the convenience and the number of matches that people have make it a very convenient and accessible way to find a date. Moreover, the relationship outcomes in relationships that were initiated online via offline are very similar. In some research, online dating actually has slightly better relationship outcomes, such as higher relationship satisfaction, whereas in other research, online dating scores slightly poorer than conventional dating. Conventional dating generally benefits from social network effects and pre-screening if you share a social network. If you go to the same church, you may already know the person somewhat, your family may know who the person is, they may already accept that person. These things are positives. On the other hand, online dating offers a much broader base of people you can select, and research shows that it offers much more varied relationships. Online dating also allows you to meet people that you otherwise wouldn't meet, and people you may not realize that would have been a good match for you. Overall, it's clear that online dating is not necessarily better or worse than offline dating. Online dating simply offers another method of communication, and your success with online dating will depend on how good you are at online dating. So here are some concrete tips to get the most out of your online dating experience. First and foremost, know what you are optimizing for. A mistake I see very commonly in men, and also sometimes in women, is that you optimize for short-term relationships, but you complain that you don't get good long-term relationship outcomes. So for men, if you're just on there to game a woman, you lie about your height, you do everything to get the girl in the door, but in the process you have not been yourself, you have just told the woman what she wants to hear, and you have demonstrated no commitment towards a long-term relationship, then of course, the best case scenario that you're going to get is a hookup. And the type of women that will be attracted to this may not be what you consider marriage material. One of the easiest ways to stand out as a man in online dating is to show commitment. Most men on online dating are just there for a hookup. Women realize this and are often exhausted with it. If your profile shows that you are genuinely interested in a committed long-term relationship, then you will attract many more women that are also interested in a genuine long-term relationship. You also have to adjust your filters accordingly. If you're just swiping for women that have their tits out the most, women that are down to come to your apartment on the first date, then you can't complain that all the chicks have a high body count and where are all the conservative women. For women, a particularly common mistake is to be overly passive. Men commonly complain that women on dating platforms are very passive. They don't respond to their messages, they don't initiate contact, and they are basically just waiting for the guy to push the right buttons. If you are a woman and you're just waiting for a guy to push the right buttons, it is very likely that that guy is going to be a player. So if you're interested in a long-term, genuine relationship, your profile needs to show that, and your profile also needs to allow for the filtering that makes men that are interested in a long-term relationship to seek you out. If your profile is just a link to your Instagram, how on earth can you expect guys to filter for you based on anything other than your appearance? Literally all you give is your photos. So of course, all that guys will swipe for is your photos. And if all that guys are swiping for is your physical appearance, then you can't complain that they're just looking for a hookup. Research shows that women that initiate contact achieve significantly more desirable partners than women that don't. So ladies, if you want a high-value committed partner, you need to be active. You need to interact, ask questions, and you don't want the guy to feel like he's just gonna have to carry the conversation all by himself. If that's the case, he's probably not gonna see you as anything more than a hookup because you're not offering him more than that. In contrast, if you are actively engaging in the conversation, you're asking him questions, and you are genuinely curious about who you are dating, as you should be if you're looking for a serious partner, then it is much more likely that you are going to find a serious partner. For both men and women, when you approach online dating like this, you also need to be on the right platform. If you're on Tinder, you barely have any filters. You cannot expect serious relationship outcomes in an app that just shows you someone's photos. So at the minimum for serious relationships, the app needs to have filters that set what for you are deal breakers. At a minimum, you probably want some kind of filter that says what the person is interested in. If they're looking for a hookup, if they're looking for a serious relationship, that needs to match with what you are looking for. Another strong consideration is child preferences. If you are sure that you really want a child, that should probably be a filter. Similarly, if you're sure that you don't want a child, that should definitely be a filter, because that filters out tons of people, and that is almost certainly going to be a deal breaker later on. So make sure you know what your real deal breakers are and filter for that. That can be religion or educational status. What it probably should not be though is something like height or cup size. If you're going by those kind of shallow filters, then you're probably going to find shallow relationships. You also want to be realistic with your filters. And this is particularly common these days for young women, where they feel that the guy has to be 6'5", make at least 100K a year, be at least an 8 out of 10 in terms of physical attractiveness, and then a bunch of other things like he also needs to like me, needs to be single, etc. What is extremely good practice for most people, to be realistic with your standards, is to just look at the amount of individuals or the percentage of the population that remains after you set your deal breaker criteria. For example, if you insist on a guy that's in the top 10% of height, the top 10% of income, and the top 10% of physical attractiveness, then just based on those filters alone, you are looking for 1 in 1,000 men. Then you're not even looking for the fact that they have to be single, they have to like you, they have to be in your age category, you need some broad overlap in long-term life goals, child preferences, all of those types of things. By that time, you might actually be looking at something like 1 in a million men. Research has found that women and men typically go for the highest value profiles they can find without any regard for their own social desirability. Whereas research clearly shows that if you look for people that are more in line with your mate value, and yes, you do have something like a mate value, and this can be objectively quantified and estimated even, relationship outcomes are much more likely to be successful. If you're an average guy with an average personality, average income, average height, you go up to Shakira, Beyonce, and Jennifer Lopez, and they'll reject you, and then you complain, all of the women reject me, what am I to do? Well, what you should do is lower your standards, because there might be a very nice girl that is a perfect fit for you, even if she doesn't look like Shakira. Looking objectively at the statistics, I think, is a really good way to make you humble and make you prioritize what's truly important in a relationship. For example, I did some research on the filters that I would apply in large cities. I would be looking for a woman that is at least university educated. It's very unlikely that I would match with someone that's not university educated. She has to be single, between the ages of 25 and 40, in the top 20% of physical attractiveness. I'm shallow and I know it. And importantly, she has to be open to not having kids, because I'm not sure that I want kids. When you apply those filters to most large cities, you are looking at a few hundred women. Similarly, a filter for women that look for a guy that makes at least 100K a year, is at least 6 foot tall, is in the top 30% of physical attractiveness, and is aged 25 to 40 years old, only turns up about 0.04% of men, about 1 in 2,500. In a city of 1 million people, that is less than 500 men that meet your criteria and are single. And single in this case is just assuming population averages. If you're looking for a partner like that, it is very unlikely that they are still single, or if they are single, that they're looking for a committed relationship in the first place. Not to mention, they have to like you have to have some level of shared life goals and an ability to make a future together, and a host of other factors like personality. Being realistic about what kind of partner you can expect is crucial not just for online dating but also for offline dating. And it is actually a massive strength of online dating that you can already filter for these things. So for people that know what they want and they're realistic about what they want, online dating offers an incredibly accessible and convenient way to filter for a partner. It is no surprise then that online dating has become the most popular way that people meet these days. And research shows that relationship outcomes are just as good with online dating as with offline dating. Online dating is just a medium of communication. I hope this video helps you find a match, and if you like this type of evidence-based lifestyle content, I'd be honored if you like and subscribe.